remember when I had T-Macs, and I
T-Macs.
after a training, I went to a shopping center, and I left my bag with those T-Macs in it inside a locker. And I completely forgot about it. I went shopping, and then I went home. I woke up next morning. I found the locker room key inside of my jacket. And I thought, oh, I forgot my basketball shoes. I need to go back to the shopping mall to take them. So I went there, and it was empty. I went to the security guy, and I said, look, yesterday I left a bag, and now it's gone. He says, like, we don't have any responsibility about the stuff that you leave there.
Response.
And he's right about that, but it's pretty obvious that before closing the shopping mall, a security guard went there to check all the lockers. He found T-Macs inside and said, like, oh, it's going to be a great gift for my son. And just took it. Right. And I never got them back. I really love those shoes. They were great. I believe I was like 14 years old. Or 13 years old. I was still actively playing those days. So
I look at them now, and they look one of those shoes that were very comfortable back in the days.
I love them, yeah. But I only had them for like 3 months because I lost them.
Yikes.
And then I couldn't afford expensive shoes as a backup. So I had to go with something just very random from a sports store.
If that was a Lithuanian podcast, I really believe there's a chance that you could get them back, or at least the son of the security guard would reach out.
Somebody might still have them somewhere in the closet. I mean, it happened like 18 years ago, so.
But still, it was pretty rare stuff to have, right?
T-Macs were, I wouldn't say it was the hottest thing because there were more popular shoes back in the days, but T-Macs were pretty fly.
Okay.
Actually. And when I got them as a gift, I was so happy. I believe they cost at that time around 200 litas, something like that.
When you think now,
not everybody could afford that, actually.
No. But when you think now that shoes cost like 150 euros, 120 euros, and you try, and before it was the same amount in litas, of course, it was 15 years ago. But
right now the prices are crazy. You go to any store, like I was going shopping for gifts, and for my brother, I wanted to buy a beanie, and I see a very cool Nike beanie hat. I'm going to buy it. And then I look at the price tag. It's 40 euros.
50,
40 or 45, I believe. And I thought like 2 years ago for 40 or 45, I could buy a pants, jumper, and socks. And right now it's a beanie hat for 40. But these are the days we're living in.
Yeah, I believe that everything is so overpriced right now that I was actually thinking about something to do different for the next Christmas, like... sending this money to somebody who really needs it, whether it's, war in Ukraine or some kids who can't afford having T-Mac shoes or whatever. So maybe it would make more sense.
I think kids these days don't know who T-Mac is.
I mean, maybe Ja Morant's then.
You should go for Ja or Steph or at least KD.
Or Luka Doncic.
Basically,
he has the shoes now, I think.
I'm not a shoes fan. So.
Being a fan of T-Mac or having T-Macs makes you a boomer these days, probably.
That's true.
Kids will look at you like, oh, you're a boomer. Who's your favorite basketball player? I'm going to go with Tracy McGrady and Allen Iverson.
And Vince Carter.
And I have this Dikembe Mutombo jersey.
Boomer.
Yeah.
So, what about Luka Doncic shoes? How much you would pay for his shoes from this night?
I don't know.
From this night?
Yeah. Becoming the first who scored 60, grabbed 20 rebounds, and dished 10 assists.
Actually, before that, I wanted to say I do have basketball shoes right now that I rarely use, like once a month, because I don't play that much anymore. I cannot do that. But it's Dame Lillard's shoes. And Dame just became the leading scorer in Portland Trail Blazers franchise history. So that's also a big thing. And Dame's shoes are pretty comfortable and good looking. So it's not like I do Dame time, averaging 3 points per game in amateur league. But yeah, those are good shoes. And Luka's, I think the stocks are way higher right now.
I mean, just what he did today. Obviously, the Knicks were a part of this. I mean, the way they allowed to force for him and for the other Mavericks the overtime, because he had like 43 or 45 points before that stretch.
Okay.
They were teams, I think, are 0 and 13,000 losses when they are down 10.
13,884 losses in the last 20 seasons when trailing by at least 9 with 35 seconds or fewer remaining.
So it's not a coincidence I've mentioned T-Mac.
Yeah, because the last probably the exactly 13,800 whatever was T-Mac.
That's what he did against the Spurs.
Yeah.
You know, analyzing this game, first of all, I would like to go back a couple of days ago, what happened during the Christmas day when the Dallas Mavericks played the Los Angeles Lakers.
It wasn't worth to be a Christmas Day game first.
It wasn't, but the thing is that the Lakers had a game plan to double Luka Doncic every single possession, every single time. He usually went to the post, low post against Beverly, and they would double him all the time. The idea is to live with other players shooting the ball. And
did
other
he tweet anything after the game?
Sorry?
Did he tweet anything after the game, like Mike James did? About
probably
box and
he
one?
didn't. He probably didn't. I mean, doubling is not like box and one. It's a different story.
I don't understand. You want him on the pod again or not?
I'm just kidding.
It wasn't a problem for Luka to pass the ball, but the Dallas Mavericks players were not making shots and Lakers were leading at the halftime. But then the third quarter happened. And Tim Hardaway, Chris Wood, Spencer Dinwiddie, all these guys were making shots and they played a 51-point quarter. And that was the consequence of Lakers doubling and sometimes even tripling Luka Doncic and forcing him to pass the ball. So the New York Knicks and Tom Thibodeau went in a complete opposite way. I didn't see the full game yet. I just saw the full highlights of Luka Doncic scoring 60 points and the extended highlights of the game.
They were not doubling.
They were switching, or in pick and roll, they were playing drop coverage. So it was kind of easy for a player with Luka's abilities and talent to score 40. But in my opinion, the New York Knicks game plan worked. They had the game in the bag. They were up 9 with 1 minute to go. And then what happened in the last minute was Christmas miracle. Some free throws missed by the Knicks. 3-pointers made by Chris Wood and Spencer Dinwiddie. Luka Doncic with an and one play. Luka Doncic missing a free throw on purpose to grab his own rebound and force the overtime. Basically, everything that could go wrong for the Knicks in the last minute went wrong. And in the overtime, of course, Dallas had the momentum. I think some fans already were at home. They left the building early and they didn't see the ending. But yeah, the stat line looks crazy. 60, 20, 10.
60, 21, and 10.
Yeah. 60, 21, and 10. It is crazy. I think it's the first time in the history of the NBA when you have a triple-double with 60 points.
Second.
It was James Harden.
James Harden did first. Yeah.
But the first with 60, 20, and 10.
So again, if you just see the highlights of Luka Doncic, it's not like he needed to make some tough shots to score 40. Those were usually floaters, attacking the drop coverage, a couple of step-back threes, a lot of drawn fouls, some and-one plays, but nothing unusual, actually.
I mean, if you watch only his highlights of Luka Doncic, and you were like, I did it first, then I watched the game, I was like, I mean, how is this game winnable by Dallas? Why is it so easy for Luka to score? Because he is just playing the Spain pick and roll and they can't do anything. I mean, playing the drop coverage for Luka is like walking in the park. Like that's how hard it is for him to score against drop coverage. We have seen it many, many times in the series and teams then changing defenses. But you watch the score, you see how easy Luka is in these highlights scoring. And then you're like, the result is always Knicks are up by 10.
Yeah,
that was the crazy part. Like he's scoring so easily, but somehow they are still up by 10 because in the post they weren't doubling him. They were allowing him to go one-on-one and drop coverage. So this is basically what Luka wants to do. So it was really crazy to see them after such a good performance, such a good game, and allowing Luka to play, and then in the last 35 seconds, just making all the wrong plays. Let's say they allowed that first 3-pointer was okay. We won the game. we can,
relax a little bit.
One 3-pointer is not going to change anything. Bam, 6-point game. Then he forces the jump ball, wins the jump ball. They miscommunicate on a switch. There was a guard-to-guard screen. So these little things, and then bam, it's, obviously 5 things in a row to go like this way, it's super rare. Like you see this stat, it's crazy. But it was just 47 minutes of great, let's say, defense, not against maybe him, but against all the others. And then it's like 5 plays in a row that went completely wrong.
At the same time, this spectacular performance by Luka Doncic just proves my point that this Dallas Mavericks team will not go deep in the playoffs. It will not have a successful season like last year. If you need Luka to drop 60, 20, and 10 to force an overtime against the New York Knicks at home, it means that something's not working. And basically for them to be successful, you need more consistency from Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr., and in this case, they were not making shots. So Tom Thibodeau was more than happy to see Luka scoring 50 as long as the Knicks win the game.
Yeah.
And that was the logical outcome because up 9, 1 minute left, what else can you expect? Then a miracle happened, yes, but you cannot prepare yourself for something like this. So basically, Luka is carrying the team and he doesn't have enough help. Like last season, Jalen Brunson was actually a very solid ball handler helping Luka. Also having Spencer Dinwiddie and...
True, but we started like talking about Brunson, more only in the playoffs because... in the regular season, yeah, he was good. He was balling, similar to what Christian Wood is doing right now. Yeah. And then he just, with Luka injured, got even more confidence and started to ball. But I agree with you that for Luka to win, they need another superstar there. And I was reading yesterday an article from Thinking Basketball that to win in the NBA, the superstar alone does not guarantee you anything. You need at least another all-star to win, and that has been like teams to win championship with only one superstar and not another all-star is like happened like 5% in the last 20 years. And so if you want to win, it's simple. You need to have superstar and an all-star. And I don't think Christian Wood is necessarily an all-star.
They don't have any other superstar.
He is a great piece, but I think they need another guy there.
Of course, they have Dinwiddie and Wood. This is solid help for Luka, but that's not enough. They took a gamble with Kemba Walker, actually. Nobody believes he's going to have healthy knees for the full season, but he had a 34-point game, I believe, like a week ago. Although what I love the most about Luka Doncic tonight was not his game or the stat line, it was his post-game interview.
Oh, yeah.
Where he just said, I'm very tired. I need a recovery beer.
These
are the exact same words I said when I woke up after Christmas.
Oh, okay, after Christmas. I thought you were going to say these are the exact same words I say when I play in the park. Not even in the game, know where you go, in the amateur league.
When I woke up after Christmas and watching Boxing Day football, I actually said to myself, I need a recovery beer because I was busy, let's say, liberating Cuba for the whole day.
If I'm making a beer in Dallas, if I'm a beer company, I would definitely go for some beer line like recovery beer or something. It would get popular among
some
the Mavericks
marketing.
Yeah. These two dudes like Doncic and Jokic, they give something special, extraordinary to the NBA product. I mean, Jokic not so long ago dropped a stat line with 27 rebounds.
And 40 plus points.
45 points, something crazy.
There were some incredible.
And actually, I had a discussion with some of my friends that are also big NBA fans about Nikola Jokic case to be an MVP 3 times in a row. And basically, the only argument why it cannot happen is that
recency bias.
It is a vote by American media, and probably people will think like, aren't we too generous giving this MVP award to the Serbian player for the 3rd time in a row? Even though all the stats and the numbers and the extended stats, advanced stats show that he is the MVP. They probably would go for Jason Tatum if Boston Celtics win the regular season. But it's just that like Nikola Jokic is still the MVP of the league and he's still playing like the MVP and he could be the MVP once again. Doncic is not in the MVP discussion basically because Dallas Mavericks are underperforming.
But I believe, I saw that all the advanced stats, and Jokic is like in every advanced metric, he is in 99th or 100 percentile, like in the top percent in each of advanced metric. Like there is no advanced metric that Jokic is not in the first couple of players.
Even if you give the MVP award to Jason Tatum, let's say, Michael Jordan's MVP award, by the way, the real MVP behind the numbers will still be Nikola Jokic.
But to me, I think if Luka would had a better team, and let's say they don't give the award to Jokic, there is between Tatum and Luka, and the Celtics are good, and Dallas is, let's say, in the playoffs without the play-in, fourth or fifth seed maybe. I think Luka would get it, because he is the bigger face, and just these incredible stat lines. I mean, Tatum is playing great and having all these crazy stat lines as well, but Luka just has a level even above him. So
Luka will be the MVP sooner or later, but just right now he doesn't have the team that's good enough for him to be in the MVP discussion, or
in the Western Conference that has like 12 teams fighting for the spot,
or at least like we saw when Russell Westbrook was the MVP for averaging a triple-double. That was just one single case. It usually doesn't happen when you are 7th or 8th seed in the West. I'm not taking anything away from Jason Tatum, but let's be real. If Luka Doncic had Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and Marcus Smart playing next to him, his life would be a lot easier also. And Boston Celtics right now are probably the best team in the league.
True.
Let's hope Dallas will do something not to waste his talent. Luka is still 23, and he became the youngest player to record a 50-point triple-double.
23.
He tied for the highest scoring triple-double in NBA history. First player since Will Chamberlain in 1968 with a 50-10-10 game. The first 60-20 game ever by a guard, and he also had 10 assists and 60 points, most in franchise history. And also he became the first European-born player to score 60 points. Tony Parker was second with 55. Dirk Nowitzki 53, and Giannis Antetokounmpo 52. So that's where my question comes. Who do you consider the European NBA GOAT?
Dirk.
All time?
Yeah.
Dirk.
Still Dirk, but Giannis is there, Luka is there, and Nikola is there. These guys will probably overtake Dirk, but I think up to this day, Dirk's legacy is just so big that you cannot only measure everything by MVPs, championship rings, and points per game averages. It's about the legacy, and Dirk's legacy is tremendous. I mean, what he did to the game. Actually, on Christmas Day, his statue was opened next to the American Airlines Arena, and the statue was kind of iconic because it shows Dirk with the
fadeaway.
Incredible leap. Like his back is almost next to the ground, and he's making the fadeaway shot.
And Kevin Garnett, by the way,
it's very iconic.
Another statue over there. Luka statue right now.
Luka statue might be there someday. I believe that eventually Mark Cuban will build a contender with the Dallas Mavericks around Luka Doncic, but his time hasn't come yet. This team is not strong enough yet. They probably were better last season than they are right now. So it's impossible to say that 23-year-old Luka Doncic is already the European GOAT in the NBA. He hasn't even played the NBA Finals yet. So Dirk Nowitzki for me right now, but probably in 10 years' time, it will be a different conversation.
I think Giannis is on this space
for sure
to become the GOAT. MVP awards, winning the NBA with let's say when he joined Milwaukee, it was a mediocre NBA organization. So he kind of brought the hope. He made them a serious team, a big team over there. He's dominating the game, and for sure it's on his pace to become.
And
the GOAT.
He stayed there when there were some
just
rumors.
Just like Dirk.
Exactly.
Loyalty. Just the only thing that
it was written. Sorry to interrupt. It was written on the statue, I think, on the Dirk. The loyalty never fades away.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was super cool. And the Dirk,
Wow.
That was super.
Dirk came to the league in 1998, being a very slim teenager that people thought he's a small forward, and what can he do on the NBA court with no physicality? And in the end, if we compare Giannis to Dirk, why I would prefer Dirk Nowitzki still is like Dirk changed the game. He changed the concept of a stretch four, of a power forward, of the big man shooting the ball and being able to score in different ways. And what Giannis is doing is basically, it's not for everybody. It's just for super freaks of nature. Like, you cannot reach the levels of Giannis Antetokounmpo by crafting your skills or your game. Dirk Nowitzki, physically, nothing special. He's not an excellent defender. He's not a guy that is going to beat you in physical battles. He's just the smartest player on the court. He has a unique skill set. And that is something that I believe a lot of players try to copy in their game when they saw Dirk Nowitzki doing that. It's just not everybody can reach the level. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is a beast. And you admire him for different reasons. And I will always prefer these natural talents like Dirk or Steph.
Even Luka Doncic. I mean, your description fits him very well. He looks like the guy who has this recovery beer on a daily basis.
Although his body strength is actually top level.
But you said Dirk changed something in basketball, like the way we see stretch forwards and stuff. And Giannis is doing it in the same, in his own way. Luka is doing that, has done it in Europe, I think, in the EuroLeague, changing how we understand the game and doing it in the NBA as well, playing all the, let's say, the point forward, all the positions, just being the number one ball handler and making your team become like, let's say, a positionless team, because around Luka, you can just put around four guards or four forwards and the team is fine. You don't need positions because you have Luka. So in a way, Luka is also changing basketball. Jokic is doing the same. He changed the way we understand how center should play, how we involve centers in offense. Not only on the low block, but in the high post, in the middle of the key area. Pushing the ball. And before there was only Dirk that changed the way from Europe, that changed the way how we understand the game or an element of the game. And now we have 3 guys from Europe that are basically changing how we understand basketball, how we see basketball. We are seeing tactics invented, Giannis wall, and still nobody has invented defense, the best defense against Luka, but
terminology invented, like point center.
Exactly. So it's so cool to see 3 players from Europe dominating and changing the way we see basketball and the basketball is played. So that's probably we will be, after 10 or 20 years, we will get back here and say, wow, that was really an amazing decade of basketball.
I agree with you completely. It's just like, for me, it's a different experience to see a player that can take the ball and go straight through the whole court and through the whole defense because of his physical abilities, and to see a player that is not exceptionally strong or in terms of physicality better than most of the NBA athletes,
but
he's just
jumping so high.
He's just outplaying them with his head,
basically on every single possession.
That's why I'm going with Luka, with Jokic, with Dirk. So far, Dirk's still my GOAT. And Giannis, I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he's the best player in the league right now.
And let's not forget that there's a lot of work behind his freakness. Let's say it's not just being genetically gifted player. There's a lot of hard work, what he has to suffer going through these streets in Athens, a lot of desire, his heart. I mean, his example for the future generation is also something what you cannot compare. But I see your point, and I had this line prepared like, okay, Luka Doncic for sure, he will make his own case to be considered as one of the GOATs, European GOATs in the NBA history. But I can say that I think that even today, I think that he's the most exciting European player ever that played the NBA game. I mean, considering his skill set, creativity, not just, passing, not just the core visibility, but the way he creates the shot, the creative way of creating shots, creating passes from nowhere.
There was this one
like that
pass tonight
behind the head,
the corner,
where it looked like he's going for the layup
with like broken arm or something.
Sent the ball to the corner for Reggie Bullock to make the free.
It looked
I don't
like
know how he
some
made it.
error in video game, and his personality he brings on the court, I think it's unmatchable by any of these starts. As you mentioned, all of them, they were unique in their own way, but Luka is, for me, so far, he's the most exciting.
His personality on the court, I mean, could improve.
With a lot of bad and good things, of course.
On the NBA stage,
I mean-
on the NBA stage, it looks entertaining. On the EuroBasket stage, it seems a little bit annoying. So these are also different contexts.
I wonder
of the
what
game.
Dallas fans are thinking.
It's annoying, but it's also very interesting to watch it.
No, in the NBA, for me, it's entertainment. He's trash talking with people in the courtside seats. He's trash talking with Pat Beverly the whole game. Of course, Pat Beverly is also
He's probably
a
trash
very,
talking with the security guards.
competent
yeah.
trash talker. Actually, on Christmas Day, another miracle happened. Luka Doncic was actually fouled out of the NBA game. He got his 6th foul by a very brave young referee. But then Jason Kidd went with the coach's challenge, and obviously it was overturned.
That was a brave decision. That was very brave. That was very
Yes,
brave.
exactly. But yeah, he stayed on the court because of the coach's challenge.
And you know what? I think that you mentioned all these greats of today's basketball, but I feel that we're so privileged to witness them not only on TV, but live as well. Because I feel it's kind of sad for me that, okay, there's Michael Jordan, the GOAT of the NBA basketball. There's Dražen Petrovic, the GOAT of European basketball, probably. But for me, it was always sad that I hadn't an opportunity to watch them live, which makes the whole case different. And it was always like a basketball myth for me. Okay, you can watch them on TV, on YouTube, but it's so different when you can watch Luka Doncic playing even in 2017 EuroBasket when he was 18 and he was super important in this gold medal run for Slovenia, or even now watching him in EuroBasket scoring 47 points, the second highest all time in the EuroBasket history, and just having this smile all 40 minutes. I mean, I'm not an art guy. There's no song or painting which makes me excited. I mean, so excited. But when I watch Luka, it's something different. When I watch Jokic or even Giannis Antetokounmpo, so it's a huge privilege for us to be able to follow them also live. And the fact that Luka is still only 23, it means that we have at least 10 years. If no injuries will happen or recovery beer won't make an impact on Doncic's career.
I'm a bit more cynical. It's not like Luka crashing out of the EuroBasket versus Mateusz Ponitka or Giannis Antetokounmpo suffering the wall and losing the quarterfinal, or Nikola Jokic losing to Italy will stay in my mind for a long time.
I'm not talking about their worst nights.
I'm going to remember about them.
Yeah.
And I still prefer seeing them on the NBA court, actually. This is where they get to show their best skills. I mean, Luka Doncic is a player that probably doesn't feel any difference to play in Europe or to play in the NBA. He needs to carry the team either way, and he needs shooters around him, and he just plays basketball. For Giannis, it's very different. The European rules are really harsh on Giannis Antetokounmpo, actually. Even Czech Republic can build a wall and stop him and have a big guy standing there all the time under the rim protecting it. So in the EuroBasket stage, for me, it's a bit incomplete. But when I see these guys, for example, when I saw Giannis making his championship run, yeah, that's something legendary.
Or at least you have a chance to go there, to watch them live in the NBA arenas.
I don't have the chance at the moment. Still one of my dreams to cover the NBA Finals someday. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but, well, a man can dream.
Yeah, so it was an exciting night for European, not just European, but for worldwide basketball fans. There's also another exciting guy in Europe who brings a lot of excitement, especially in Serbia, Facundo Campazzo. Our colleagues even mentioned, titled it as Campazzo Mania. Insanity of Campazzo, given the fact how Red Star fans are hyped up about the signing. They bought all the tickets to the game against Barcelona in 1 hour. Okay, they're not playing in Stark Arena. They will play in Alexander Nikolic Hall. But what kind of excitement this signing
is there
brings.
A limit of tickets there?
Theoretically, probably legally, maybe yes, but there are no limits in Serbia. I was in niche Serbian Cup final last year during COVID, and I remember there was this rule in whole country that probably more than 50% of capacity cannot be filled with fans. It was a full house game. So I mean,
overpacked.
So games in Serbia, they're different. And what's also interesting about this potential debut in the EuroLeague, because at least at this moment when we're talking on this pod on it's 2:00 on Wednesday, it's still not clear if he will play or not, because the ban was not lifted yet on Red Star to register new players.
But
they're still working on the paperwork.
They needed this sponsorship to make
I think
it work.
It was more about agreements with those players. They were owing some money. I think that one of them was Adams, and there was somebody else, Zvezda. At least their president told that they already reached these agreements, and they also claimed that they sent papers to EuroLeague, and maybe it was Christmas break or whatsoever that kind of postponed these things. Although from the other side, I'm hearing that something was not matching something. Maybe they were lacking some of papers to lift that ban. Anyway, so it's not clear yet if Campazzo will play, but he already made his debut in EuroLeague. And what probably explains this mania that we, with Augustus, we watched EuroLeague game against Borac Čačak, one of the worst teams in EuroLeague. They have a record 3-9, but let's show them respect as the first team of Željko Obradović, actually, when he was a pro player, and he played there 44 years ago.
And it's not like I don't watch EuroLeague this year. This year I have some more reasons to watch it, you know. But it was crazy. Campazzo gets up from the bench, not even arrives to the scorer's table, and the whole arena is applauding him already.
Almost 77,000 people came to watch him.
And I mean, it was usual Campazzo. He will need some time to get off the rust. He immediately went onto the court and just tried to throw some crazy passes with one hand, super strong. You are under the basket. Imagine your guy has his back turned to Campazzo, and he just throws his bullet pass, but doesn't pass to you, but to the backboard.
He almost broke the rim.
Broke
that pass,
And there were some other passes that he tried and didn't work. There were some passes that worked. A really nice behind the back pass with the left hand. And to me, it stands out. He just, every time he steps on the court, his energy, his quickness, and he's so fast in the passing lanes to steal the ball. I mean, probably this team, it shouldn't be we shouldn't judge him, but I think the rust will come off of him much sooner than if there was another player in his situation. I just think he has such a feel for the game that he will not need much time to get into the rhythm. But obviously, EuroLeague is way, way different than playing Borac Čačak team. In the EuroLeague.
Yeah, I actually thought that his first game will be more rusty. When he entered the court in the middle of the first quarter, he actually replaced Luka. The
rotations will be interesting, by the way. How they will rotate now with Nedovic, Vildoza, Campazzo, will Dobric play less, probably, or what's going to happen between these three guys and the other, let's say, Serbian rotation players that were playing pretty good.
Yeah, and then when he showed up on the court, Zvezda was up by 4 or something. It was a pretty tight game, but when he left the floor, it was already 26-16. The first couple of passes, the first possessions were kind of rusty, but he quickly got his rhythm and man, all these behind the back passes.
Some
easy crazy assists, very easy game for Campazzo and Red Star, of course. 11 points on 3 of 6 shooting, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 5 assists, and 2 turnovers, and 90 minutes. So let's wait for the EuroLeague debut. Probably it will answer a lot of questions with the rotations, their chances of making the playoffs, all the Red Star players, and I believe fans, they're kind of sure that they will make the playoffs right now with Campazzo's addition, but we will see. It's not so easy as it looks, and it's not the video game in my eyes, and especially in this very competitive EuroLeague. But of course, there's a lot of reasons why Red Star fans are so hyped up about this edition.
By the way, I don't know, are we going to talk about Olympiacos and the game?
I have two random things from that game, since I watched that game. I watched all those stretches when Campazzo was on the floor, but it's not the common thing that I'm watching EuroLeague games, so I noticed a few very interesting things.
2 takes from Borac Čačak or Olympiacos Zvezda?
Borac Čačak and Zvezda. So the first thing is that it's probably the first arena. Okay, the first arena after Oaxaca you've probably noticed this courtside row with sofas on the baseline.
Okay.
There are, at least there was before, white sofas, or it was on the side of the court. I don't remember. So in Red Star game, I noticed that previously it was the media tribune. Now there were rows with sofas with two people on them, like probably VIP seats for this game. So for me, it was unique. And the other unique thing was, which is related to Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo, that if there was a 10-second free throw violation in Europe, the number 4 of Borac Čačak would get called for that twice in that game. And it was actually, I Googled him, it was 18-year-old kid, George Čurčić, and it took 11 seconds for him to attempt both free throws.
That's not so bad. When Giannis got called for that 10-second violation, it was like 20,
even more than
20
that,
or
right?
something. I don't know. I don't remember correctly.
Maybe
but
not 20, but close to that.
Close.
Yes.
More than 11.
So yeah, it was interesting. Although that kid is great, he has a great free throw shooting percentage. That was the EuroLeague debut for him. I imagine for that night.
I imagine the guys during the practice hate him if he's doing the same free throw routine every time. Hey, coach says, hey, shoot 10 free throws, and he's like, everyone finishes in 1 minute. He's like 5 minutes later.
Slow free throw routine is something that I find irritating. I remember George Zidek, when he played for Žalgiris, he used to touch the floor with his bum before taking the free throw. It took so long for him to prepare. The preparation was so slow. It sort of reminds me of a football player taking a penalty kick. But I get that for some players it's probably easier to catch their breath because you're not shooting in a practice, you're shooting in a basketball game, so you need a little bit more time to prepare. If it's Giannis' case, then you need to understand how much contact he suffers during the game, so when he gets to the line, it's actually a breath of fresh air for him because there's no one disturbing him or punching him, so he just has all the time in the world to prepare. And of course, if you're playing on the road, people in the stands are counting 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you're watching the game, maybe it's a bit annoying when it takes 30 seconds for a player to make 2 free throws. But at the same time, you need to understand why he does that.
There is a reason.
Yeah.
So probably Georgia also needed to take a breath before making his first ever EuroLeague points. So again, congratulations on that. And these were my 2 random facts about the game.
I just have one random fact about Olympiakos and Zvezda game.
Okay.
Rytis, did you?
No, I was working with Partizan Fenerbahce game, which was also
a good
drama, not a quality drama, but it ended
an interesting game.
It ended with Partizan winning it.
Just about Olympiakos and Zvezda real quick. So I make a video start of the season. I make a video about Olympiakos. I think they start 4-0. They lose the next game. Next video is about Fenerbahce. They have 5 win series in a row. We make a video. They lose the next game. Everyone in the comments saying, the BasketNews curse. Someone saying, make a video about Anadolu. We don't want them in the playoffs. Make a video about Vezenkov. About it's not about Vince, about his scoring, but he finishes with 11 points only.
And how many dribbles?
I didn't count dribbles this game. He had a lot of dribbles, but there is a reason. There was Stefan Lazarevic, who had one task in this game: stay attached to Vezenkov as close as possible. And he showed that this is the best defense that you can play against Vezenkov. Because if you are always hugging Vezenkov, it's hard for him to move. And he needs to move, to change directions as much as possible to score these points, as you can see in that video, and with all the cuts, all the movement that he is doing. And, Vezenkov scored 11 points. Zvezda won in an away game, a really great performance after not such a good double week they had. And even on the last defensive play when it mattered the most, he was supposed to. Olympiacos was playing the Spanish pick and roll. Vezenkov was supposed to set a back screen on the pick and roll, and Lazarevic was just so close, and had so much contact with him that he couldn't set the screen, and Kostas Lukas was forced to to a tough shot, because if he sets the screen, maybe there is something open, maybe there is a miscommunication, but Vezenkov even couldn't set the screen because of Lazarevic, and they went on to win that game. So probably the first player to demonstrate how you need to play defense against
first team.
And you can also say that it's Duško Ivanović also needs to have a credit for this.
I see Mike James now in the room watching this pod and saying like, finally somebody did some scouting against Vezenkov, because if you remember well, also he tweeted something about nobody. I mean, having
why is he
Vezenkov
open all the time?
Yeah.
Why is he open?
Why is he open and I'm not? And they're playing box and
so Ivanović saw that tweet and it was like, okay, let's put somebody not to make him open in any time of the game. So yeah, that's a good effort. Although the refereeing was horrible in the end of the game, there were at least 3 crucial mistakes on both sides, like Tariq Black getting the ball, being
stepping
out of bounds, Laratzakis shooting a 3-pointer, foul was not called, or even getting the rebound. And I think that Mitrovic, he grabbed the hand and there was no whistle. So.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
it was very important play. But anyways, big win for Red Star. And we just discussed Campazzo's excitement that he brings to the EuroLeague. There's another NBA player, borderline NBA player, who is thinking about returning to the EuroLeague. And it's Tyler Dorsey. There are some rumors already. Some teams being mentioned being after him. Actually, there was a report by Eurohoops that Monaco made a 1.25 million offer until the end of the season for Dorsey. But from what I've heard, it's like a fake news completely. It's not true. But what's true that Dorsey has a solid price tag if anybody from the EuroLeague wants to have him back, and we just can guess where do you see him landing in the EuroLeague? What would be your ideal destination for any of those teams, or even for Tyler Dorsey?
So I have an easy and to me the most logical answer, which is Olympiacos. But and I don't think I need to explain a lot about this solution. But the more interesting one, I think, who needs it is like Bologna Virtus.
Exactly. I have the same answer.
That would be a great fit, I think, for him and for the organization that badly needs a high-level scorer who can just get off his shot at any time, and who is not a liability defensively at the same time. So I think Virtus would make a lot of sense. They have money. It's probably just a question if the owner wants to spend another, let's say, 2 million or whatever is the price tag.
Let's say 1 million. Yeah.
1 million to 1.5.
1.3 is crazy money for Dorsey in my eyes.
Okay, so for me, it's Olympiacos would make a lot of sense, and I see probably him going there. Seeing the situation of Cannon and seeing that Olympiacos are starting to lose some games, and their success in the beginning, I think we're starting to see that their success in the beginning were related, obviously, to the continuity in their team. And now, when other teams are catching up, we see them some losing games. So, for Olympiacos to be the strong contenders for the title, I think they need to go all in for Dorsey.
Well, to me, Monaco rumors don't make any sense. Unless Jordan Lloyd would be out for the season, but he's not.
He's out for 2-3 weeks.
Exactly. So you already have these free guards.
Scoring-oriented guards, yeah.
Well, not necessarily scoring. I wouldn't call Mike James scoring-oriented player. He does everything. But basically, you have already your lineup of the doom for the opponents. In the fourth quarter, you play with Mike, Elio Kobo, and Jordan Lloyd. And if you have Dorsey, then what? Do you play one of them as a 4?
Because Dorsey at the 4?
These players are and you're paying €1 million or above that, so you're expecting the player to be on the court closing games.
In the closing lineups.
Exactly. So it doesn't make sense. but Olympiacos makes perfect sense. Isaiah Canyon is not performing very well, let's be honest. He had some sparks, but it's probably not enough as a starting shooting guard for Olympiacos. Tyler Dorsey can offer a lot more. And also he knows the environment, knows the coach, and knows the teammates.
Knows the system, everything.
And then I have another idea, like if Maccabi is making some cuts, because we know all the stories about Darren Hilliard, Austin Hollins, Wade Baldwin now is injured. Maccabi is another former team where Dorsey played. I could see him there. I could see him landing there, but they would need to make some changes in the roster and maybe even change the head coach. Who knows? So these are probably two potential teams. Virtus makes sense, but at the same time, Virtus also needs to make some cuts. They have a lot of players, a lot of guards. It's just that some of these players are not delivering at all.
But they're missing a scorer so badly. I mean, their main scorer, at least he was supposed to be the main scorer, Ife Lundberg. He averaged 4.2 points in the last 5 EuroLeague games. Yeah. They had the 16th worst EuroLeague offensive rating. They're 14th in the EuroLeague, but they still have a chance to make the playoffs. So they need to improve their offense badly. And if I'm Virtus, I go after Tyler.
Sorry, since this is the question of money, do you have money or not? I could see Partizan finding some funds and signing Tyler Dorsey as a response to Facundo Campazzo signing. Because from what I see, that in Serbia sometimes you get money from somewhere. So
would it make sense though?
Not really.
Signing again 2 free, position 2,
and they're good offensively.
Well,
I mean, they're
playing
team.
without a point guard, and extra quality wouldn't hurt them because they don't have depth in the roster, anyways. So I could see.
You have depth, the most depth, and the most quality in the position. You are signing the guy. You have. Punter,
you're signing the best that you can get at the time. Like Zvezda.
I understand. Like Zvezda probably more needs.
They already had Vildosa
because they also did with Bacon. I mean, they just signed the best available player.
But Bacon was true.
That made the most sense actually.
From out of all these scenarios, Bacon makes the most sense. Yeah, because you can play him as a 4, and which they are doing, and they need they needed that position. So
even if he doesn't sign in the EuroLeague this season, in the summer he will be getting a lot of phone calls, and
for sure
many teams would go for him. I could see even Barcelona, if they decide to replace Corey Higgins, signing a player like Tyler Dorsey.
I thought about Barcelona, but it was more in the
summer.
But in the summer, yeah,
exactly.
The problem is that I think that Corey Higgins is under the contract until 2024.
They have long-term contracts in Barcelona.
We already saw that in Europe, these long-term contracts doesn't mean a lot. So
that's true.
That would be a logical replacement for Corey Higgins.
It's just an idea, because out of 18 clubs in the EuroLeague, probably 12 cannot afford a player like Tyler Dorsey.
Yeah. And he already refused good money from Olympiacos this summer because he desperately wanted to go to NBA environment, whether to make it in the NBA or to be, I've heard that it was related, let's say family related decision. So who knows how it changed right now. I saw Greek reports that it was also related to the fact that by playing half of the season, he can expect to get the, NBA pension. Yeah, pension. That's the right word. So it was also related to this. And there are a lot of things we might don't know.
And it's kind of obvious why it didn't work for him in Dallas. He just lacks size as a shooting guard. In NBA, for head coaches, for scouts, for GMs, if you're a shooting guard, undersized shooting guard, you need to have spectacular offensive talent. And if you want to play next to Luka Doncic, there's already Spencer Dinwiddie on the team. So I think it was not really an opportunity for Tyler Dorsey to make it to the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe it was the wrong team at the wrong time, but he is not a point guard. You cannot see him playing as a point guard running the team, and as a shooting guard in the NBA, he's just lacking size.
And he's not a defensive specialist. So, I mean, and the competition for that kind of players like Tyler Dorsey is just, it's not very good for a player like Tyler Dorsey without some other exceptional talents he has. Yeah. What do you think with Campazzo coming back? Before it was Luka Vildoza, now we see Tyler Dorsey. What do you think? Who could be the next NBA player who could come to Europe or return to Europe?
Like, not necessarily now, but I think Dario Saric might be heading, someday soon. I know he's not a really rotation player for his team, and he's always injured. I'm not sure how many teams would want to sign him in the summer. When his contract expires, knowing his injury history and seeing how he performs on the floor. He plays 5 games and then he misses 2 weeks, and then it's the same story. So obviously there are more players that are, let's say, more EuroLeague material as of now, because probably Saric can still get some attention in the NBA, and there are more players that are much more fringe NBA than Dario Saric, but just he's a bigger name, let's say, of all these players. I don't know if you agree, guys.
Every season we see some NBA bench warmer signing for EuroLeague clubs. Some of them make it, some of them don't make it. Some are success stories, some are not. Gershon Yabusele is a great example. Elio Kobo is a great example. For Carson Edwards, it's not very bright so far, but let's give him more time.
But he signed immediately into a much a really good team. Like Elio Kobo.
They started with Asvel.
Kobo started with Asvel, and I think if you put Edwards on Asvel also, you get a better.
So it's just the idea that it's not really clear which NBA bench players or G League players will be in Europe next season. But if you talk about European names, well, it might happen with Simone Fontecchio that he tries for a couple of years in the NBA and then follows the footsteps of Nicola Melli, Facundo Campazzo, and all these other players that are coming back. We have some European vets in the NBA that, who knows, maybe they want to finish their career playing in Europe. We have Nicola Batum, for example. We have Australian guy Joe Ingles, who played in the EuroLeague for a while, although for Australian, I don't know if he has any sentiment towards the EuroLeague. So there are players we could possibly see. Danilo Gallinari, he's recovering from an ACL injury.
Ricky
Rubio, yeah. He mentioned probably a couple of years ago, that
about Barca,
he could see himself coming back to Barcelona.
True.
So maybe these guys will be here in not necessarily next season, maybe the season after. I'm talking about the veterans. And about the other guys, it's hard to predict. Every summer we see teams signing players that didn't quite make it in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. There's this short list of fringe NBA players who maybe some fans would like to see in the EuroLeague on BasketNews Twitter. And I actually think that Svi Mihajlic would make a lot of sense. I see him as a big pick and roll threat here in the EuroLeague, and I see him as a more polished Ignas Brazdeikis with some better decision maker and especially better shooting ability outside the arc. So I think that he could be pretty successful player over there, because this list also includes players like Boban Marjanovic, Vili Juancho Hernan Gomez, Dario Saric, Fournier. It's way too early for Fournier to come back. Davis Bertans, Alex Len, Sandro Momukelashvili, and Goga Bitadze. But I think that not all those players fit the EuroLeague game today.
Bitadze's role has been reduced a lot this season, and probably if you're thinking about fringe NBA players that could come back to Europe, you have to look at those players who had a bigger role before, had a chance to show off their skills, and now their roles have reduced. So which probably means the team did not see enough for them to be in the rotation or to be in the roster. So you kind of have to look for those players that have the roles have reduced recently.
Yeah, and let's get back to the EuroLeague, and even here in Lithuania, we saw some amazing performance. Keenan Evans scored 32 points, which makes him the fourth highest scoring in all-time EuroLeague history in Žalgiris team. 21 points in the first half alone, which also made the Žalgiris history in the EuroLeague. He's on an impressive shape at the moment. In the last 7 of 8 EuroLeague games, he was averaging 20.9 points per night. He's already the 7th highest scorer with an average of 16.7 points per game. He's a complete Žalgiris leader and a big reason why they're in the playoff mix right now. Do you think that we're talking about the next emerging big point guard in the EuroLeague? Is he that guy on the rise who might become a star in the EuroLeague in the following years?
I believe so. I believe he's capable of doing, and he's showing that right now. I mean, he possesses, all the necessary tools athletically and skillfully talking. He has shown that he has an improved jump shot, which was a bit of a concern point last season when he was with Maccabi. Yes, he's more of a scoring guard than a creative one, but that's exactly what Žalgiris need right now. However, I can see him being even on a better team and doing the same things that he's doing right now. Real quick, one thing talking about the Žalgiris Bayern game, I was so surprised at how Bayern were defending Keenan Evans. I mean, when I'm not questioning the choices by Trinchieri because they chose to be in a drop on a pick and roll with him, and basically when you're in a drop, the guard has to do a really good job of going around the screen and then contesting the shot. But Isaac Bonga and Corey Walden were standing like 1 meter away from Keenan Evans, so basically Kevarius Hayes can just set the screen and it's a wide open 3-pointer for Evans going to the left, which is like his number one shot. And then in switches, I was surprised the teams are still allowing him to go left. Like, you're playing against Žalgiris. Force him to the right because he wants to go to the left and shoot the 3-pointers. That's his shot. He has been doing it since round 1. And force him to the right, make him pass the ball and see what happens. I mean, you're playing against Žalgiris. There is one guy you need to play defense. I mean, not play defense against, but you need one guy to stop, and you're probably winning the game because he has been carrying Žalgiris from the round 1 in every game. The comeback against Alba, random 3-pointers in every game. Maybe not to lose by 20, but to lose by 10. Keeping them in close games. So, to me, it was weird that teams, round 15, and they're still, let's say, not adjusting their defense to stop one guy that basically can guarantee you a win against Žalgiris.
So, good point.
Anyway, I agree that Keenan Evans is the next big thing in the EuroLeague.
I'm not so sure about that, actually. I cannot pay too much attention to what happened last season. He improved as a player, first of all. But, when he played next to Scotty Wilbekin, he was a helper, not a leader. Now he's playing in a team that has no ball handlers. He's the only ball handler. He's going to play 32 minutes. He's going to get as many shots as he wants. So far, he has been surprisingly consistent, making shots that some of those are really tough. Against Bayern, once he got hot, and that was probably since the first shot in the game, he did everything. He was aggressive, penetrating the paint. He was scoring after contact. He was drawing fouls. He was doing everything. He was like on God mode in that game, which was very low quality basketball game with one player performing spectacularly well. But I'm not so sure if he will be as comfortable next season on a bigger team with a lesser role, where you will have other not necessarily star players, but quality players next to you. You might not be the primary ball handler. You might be secondary ball handler. Like in Monaco, we see 3 guards and they are sharing the load. Like, if I put Keenan Evans in Jordan Lloyd's position, will Keenan Evans be very successful in it? I'm still not sure about it. Right now, he's leading a not very talented EuroLeague team where he's clearly the best player and he has all these responsibilities. I could see him in Milan, where you get to play a lot of ISO You get to take a lot of shots off the dribble, which is what he wants to do. But I couldn't see him as the Shane Larkin next to Vasa Micic, if it makes sense to you. Like, what I love about him is his positivity. Whatever role you give him, probably he's going to accept it. From what we've heard, like Žalgiris coaches and teammates need to push him actually to push him to take more shots, to be more aggressive, because maybe he's a bit shy. I don't know. I love everything about him. He's my favorite Žalgiris player in the last 3 or 4 years, perhaps. But about him being the next big thing, I don't know. I still have some doubts and uncertainties. And the same goes, for example, for Chris Jones, who's leading Valencia. And they're kind of in a similar position because Valencia without Chris Jones is just suffering. And Žalgiris, where would they be without Keenan Evans?
I saw a good question on the Lithuanian Q&A. I mean, at least in the comments, I did not see if they responded. If you had right now a game of start bench cut, you have Keenan Evans, Darius Thompson, and Chris Jones.
Start bench cut. It's hard. It's hard to cut one of these guys, but I would cut Chris
Jones.
Yeah, Chris Jones.
Same.
I'm starting Keenan Evans and benching Darius Thompson.
Me too, probably, because I'm choosing between Chris Jones and Keenan. Right now, I'm going with Keenan, and I don't know who I'm starting, but I mean, I'm staying with Keenan and Darius Thompson. Maybe even starting with
Chris
Darius.
Jones had some injuries, and like Valencia.
Just to be clear, he is still an amazing player.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's still an amazing player.
There's no question about
this corner, which is very uncomfortable.
It was an interesting. You know, you have these 3 point guards that are, let's say, on the rise, and leading teams. Let's say least talented teams, those who don't have the millions of euros to buy 8 or 10 good players. They have a little bit more limited budgets that, you have, let's say, 6 maybe good rotation players. So,
and you can draw so many comparisons between Jones and Evans, not only because Žalgiris went for, I mean, both of them were options in the summer. Chris Jones maybe was the first option. I don't know.
He was.
And the other comparison could be like Chris Jones also played in Maccabi, also played next to Scotty Wilbekin, also was a role player averaging 6 or 7 points per game. And then he became a leading point guard in a low-budget EuroLeague team, which was Asvel at the time. Those were a bit different circumstances because he played with a Kobo. It's not like he was the only ball handler because in Keenan Evans' case, Žalgiris has no ball handlers. Do you see those short stretches where Evans is on the bench? Žalgiris is just playing some, I wouldn't call that basketball. I would say it's a prayer. We're going to have the ball for 24 seconds, and then we're hoping that Edgaras Ulanovas is going to be the Paul George making shots facing the basket.
This is why I'm saying also, why are you still allowing Keenan Evans to play to his strengths? I mean, you have the only guy on this team, and if you stop him, you have your chances increase significantly. And like
we saw some teams, and I think actually Valencia was one of them. Baskonia,
they were playing the aggressive
step out hedge,
or even trap,
And then Evans just cannot catch his rhythm. He starts scoring in the second half, but Žalgiris is already down, catching the opponents. So it's probably the answer what you need to do against him when you're when you're facing Žalgiris. Then all the other things happen. Of course, Žalgiris has many, I would say, fighters on the team, players that go for 50-50 balls, die for every ball. They create second chance opportunities. It's a hard-working team, but talent-wise, there's actually only one player that stands out.
Yeah, I would say even when you speak about Žalgiris, their identity, the first thing that comes to your mind is the fighting spirit this season, and that's why they're winning games. I mean, sounds cliche, sounds maybe simple, but I mean, it works for them, Yeah, you have one really good guy that's helping you, but first thing about them for me is the fight, the grit,
Grit and grind.
Grit and grind,
so
Memphis.
Saying they're the Memphis Grizzlies of the EuroLeague.
Yeah, I mean
the old school Memphis Grizzlies. I'm not talking about the Grizzlies right now.
Just without Marc Gasol in the front line, basically. Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
Keenan Evans has some big advantages looking forward in his future because, first of all, at least he's 3 years younger than Chris Jones, and actually many point guards which will become free agents this summer. A few of them, for example, they are Kostas Lukas, Luka Vildoza, Chris Jones, Pierre Henry, Maudolo, and Facundo Campazzo. I mean, Keenan Evans has a big chance to be the hottest name after Lukas. Probably he's staying in Olympiacos, for example, but there's Campazzo, Vildoza, so he might be in the mix among the hottest point guards in the market. Although he has a buyout, he has a 2-year contract with Žalgiris, but from what I know, for any of those top 8 teams, that buyout probably is not an obstacle to sign him. So
my long shot prediction is that Keenan Evans next season lands in Milan.
Ooh, you heard it here first. December 28th.
Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty logical prediction. But yeah, I like that.
But
one.
you agree that he will land on, let's say, a team top 8 financially.
He will get a chance. He will get a chance.
Should. I don't see him.
He's not going to be on Vasily Amitis, Mike James level.
No.
But you know, he is a solid,
so
let's say,
that's what I'm saying.
solid secondary ball handler on a really good contending
So that's
team
what I'm saying. I mean,
financially.
we see a team that plays Nazmi Trulong and struggling Devon Hall, and surely they will go for some replacements.
For some young prospect, let's say, if you can count Evans as
And
such
after a season like this in the EuroLeague, I don't know if his numbers will go down or not. So far, I think he's exceeding all the expectations in terms of three-point shooting. We didn't expect him to be a 46 or 47% three-point shooter, knowing that some of these shots he's taking, these are tough shots. Sometimes it's just like a transition free. He's running into a free. Do you remember the game against Alba?
True.
We made a comeback just because Keenan Evans started hitting a shot after shot after shot, and there's no stopping it. So maybe his numbers will go down closer to 40% in the second part of the season.
56, 46, 82 right now.
Those are incredible numbers.
And the best thing is that he's not just all about the offense. I mean, he's a very solid defender, knowing that he's the main scorer of the team, and usually they try to hide you, or you just try to stay fresh defensively, so you're not putting all your efforts. So the good thing is that he has the desire, he has the body to be a solid defender, and even in an elite team, he can be this all-around guy on your roster.
I just love when Žalgiris plays switch defense and Keenan Evans is in a mismatch situation. He does everything he physically can to front the guy, to deny the pass, and there were so many successful steals or deflections he did just because of his will, his willingness to do it and to go to that physical battle. So that's also another great thing about Keenan.
I just hope that he won't lose that humbleness in February or March, because we have some examples and players who already has some contracts being around them and just stopping play defense. So let's hope that he will stay all-around threat for Žalgiris, and for sure that's an interesting name for the upcoming summer. Some say that he might hit the 1 million club. I think that he's close. And by the way, there's this. I've heard this comparison from at least a couple of people, a couple of basketball people. They say that Keenan Evans reminds Brad Wanamaker a lot. Would you agree with that comparison?
A little bit.
I mean, everything we just talked about right now, you know, calm, composed, great body, and great defensively. If we are,
I just thought that Brad was a bit bigger.
And the 3-point shooting is probably the difference.
He's 191.
Like Keenan Evans took more 3-pointers than twos this season. And if I remember Brad Wanamaker, he was more of a slasher. Probably when he played in Bamberg and later in Fenerbahce.
But he was probably not known as a shooter, if I remember correctly. But when his team needed a free, he was like knocking them down. So
talking about Brad,
yeah,
I'll just check his, let's say, EuroLeague
check his stats real quick.
Yeah, real quick, because. Yeah, you can see clearly from the numbers he was taking a lot more twos than threes, and Keenan Evans is taking more threes than twos. So that maybe is the difference in their game, but the comparison sensible, let's say.
Yeah, and of course, Keenan still has to improve some things, including decision maker. Sometimes the offense stops with him orchestrating the offense.
The offense stops because he's playing in Žalgiris.
That's also true, but I mean, the flow.
Žalgiris. Sometimes look at these lineups. They're playing Arnas Butkevičius as a 2, Edgaras Ulanovas as a 3.
I know what you're talking. I know it's funny, but I mean, from tactical standpoint,
man.
At least the coaches, they think that
he
can
is not
do
your
some
floor
improvements.
general. I give you that. He's not like the classical point guard that makes everyone around him better.
And I mean, he can make even the life for himself easier. Instead of calling a screen, he has Paul Zipser and he calls a screen and he gets Attila Hunter. I mean, there are some situations where his decision making could be better, but I believe that with that kind of role and experience, he will get there.
And he was cooking guys like Bonga, who's supposed to be a defensive stopper in the EuroLeague.
I was about to write a story how great Bonga is as a lockdown defender on Bayern, and he just needs to find the offensive identity in the EuroLeague to improve his situation.
He needs to find some energy there, man.
In this game, I just didn't understand when he was playing, when he was put as a point guard, because obviously he have a lot of injuries. Like my colleague Jonas Lakshas said, he was throwing like bowling passes. He was throwing the basketball like a bowling ball. And 3 or 4 turnovers. He wasn't a point guard at all in that game. And defending Keenan Evans, I cannot say he did a good job. Although he has all the tools, it seems to me to be a successful defensive player in the EuroLeague. But that was a very bad night for Isaac Bonga.
And the last topic to cover quickly, Milan is winning games. After snapping 9-game losing streak, they won 2 in a row, including a big away victory in Belgrade against Red Star team and ruining Duško Ivanović campaign for the best EuroLeague takeover ever. And also there was this great comeback against big EuroLeague team, Monaco. What do you think? Does it mean that they're back? Is it something, is it nothing, or is everything?
Something. I would say it's something. I was so happy finally to see them win a home game. Man, that was crazy. And just hearing the announcer in Mediolanum Forum screaming Billy Baron with all the air in his lungs that he had. Super nice. But their defense has always been there. I mean, they're still probably the number one best defensive team in competition by advanced stats and all that stuff. So it's never been, it's never left. But to win against Monaco, they still kept them, let's say 71 points. So that's a great result against Monaco. But to win that game, they needed 4 tough 3-pointers in the fourth quarter in the last seconds to win this game. So it's not something Milano has done this season. It was the first time they finally made these threes. I can't say all of them are, a result of a good offense. Some of them are just finally, there is one player who can consistently, who has confidence, and I'm talking about Billy Baron. He has been amazing in the last 4 games. So finally there's a player who can, make his own shot, create his own shot and knock it down. I'm not sure, with all we see with Milano this season, if it is, if it can continue for a longer stretch, this kind of shooting, because as I said, they still had 58 points in 36 minutes of playing time. And then they scored a lot of 3-pointers and stuff and won the game. So it is something for me. I'm waiting for Siobhan Shields to come back, but I'm not sure if it's not too late for them. I mean, they had 3 wins in the first 13 games. It's going to be hard in this competitive EuroLeague for them to come back. There's definitely hope, because with that defense,
they are 3 or 4 wins away from top 8. So my take is that their next 5 games in the EuroLeague, first of all,
very important.
Finishing this year, they are facing Valencia at home. After the new year, they're playing Olympiacos away, they're playing Alba Berlin away, they're playing Žalgiris at home, and Asvel at home. So if they win 4 of these 5 games, I say they are back in the playoff hunt. And they have to do it because I can accept a loss in Piraeus, but you must beat Valencia, Žalgiris, and Asvel in Mediolanum, and you should beat Alba Berlin in Germany. So if you do that,
no question.
If you do that, you're back in the playoff hunt. The defense is there. It has always been there. There were some games they lost purely because they couldn't make a bucket.
Make a shot.
Yeah, they were missing wide open shots. So maybe that's a little bit of karma for Ettore Messina in this game. Billy Barron making some tough shots because previously they suffered because players just couldn't hit wide open shots. So we'll see. Siobhan Shields will get back on the court. Kevin Pangos, how long is he out?
I don't know,
a month or 2.
Precisely, but his return is more likely than Shields.
Okay.
Pangos.
But they're both like late January, February, right?
Yeah, something. It's not like they're returning. Their return is on the corner.
So
we'll still have to win games without them.
These 5 games, they're winnable games even without them. And if they do that, then with Siobhan Shields and Kevin Pangos back on the floor, they can face any team in the EuroLeague, actually. I wouldn't rule them out, but right now they're surely not favorites to make it to the playoffs, to the top 8. You probably put Baskonia and Zvezda ahead of them because these are 2 hot teams, and one of those teams just recently signed an elite point guard. But we will see. There's plenty of experience in this Milan.
I still believe in Milan. I still think that they will make the playoffs. 3-win gap is not as huge. They have a talented roster. Always trust the team which has the best defensive rating. They have great defensive players and they're creating shots. And I mean, they will stop missing all those shots one day. The season is long and they still have it. I mean, I'm not buying this Ettore Messina explanation. That's I agree that Kevin Pangos and Siobhan Shields, they're 2 main offensive players on that team. But I mean, even without them, you still have the lineup, the roster with Naz Mitrolong, Billy Barron, Devon Hall, Timothy Luvavu-Cabarro, Nicola Melli, Voigtman, Brandon Davis, Kyle Hines, there's Deshaun Thomas, Gianpaolo Ricci, Tonuti, okay, Datome. These last guys, they missed a lot of games. They were injured. But I mean, we're having Žalgiris in a playoff race, and compared to Milan, I mean, you cannot say that without Pangos and Shields, this roster is not capable of winning games. So I think it's just a matter of time. This EuroLeague is so competitive this year. I mean, the teams from 1st to 5th place, they shared the same record with 10 wins and 5 losses. The 1st and 8th difference between the 1st and 8th places is just 2 victories. So this is the best environment to make this comeback. And I really believe that they will be there. Maybe 8th seed, maybe 7th seed. But if you let's imagine if they have Shields back, if they have Pangos finding his rhythm, it's a hell of an opponent for every top-seeded team in the EuroLeague this season. That's all, guys. That was a nice pod. By the way, it was the last podcast of 2022.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we're wrapping up this year.
So we need some predictions for 2023.
We will have this as a main topic
at the beginning
for
of the
next
new year.
podcast.
We're gonna make a guarantee a lot of that.
Okay. Yeah, you
The
have
next
some
pod.
bold predictions for 2023?
For next pod.
Yeah.
For the next pod.
That's cool.
For example, Milano not
It's
making
intriguing.
the playoffs. Not just kidding.
It's intriguing. So yeah, let's Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe, be careful, have some fun, and see you next week.